I had to do this one. Not only is it going to be Hera versus Demon Sheep, it's going to be England versus England, and it's basically the finale in the 3-game series of pub matchmaking. It's actually 3 times in a row they have queued into each other. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a French pass. That is right. Gold in the center. Play towards it. Get that moolah. But will they in this game? We are playing an England versus England matchup. A matchup where gold seems almost irrelevant, which definitely doesn't fit with a country that has a history of colonialism and trade, right? As well as invasions. We won't talk about the invasions. But kind of surprising how infrequently we see people playing to gold as England. Just playing for that longbow timer, right, with backup a spearman. Let's see if it plays any different here when you're talking about mirror matchup. I wonder if we're just going to get someone longbow rushing or if we're going to get both of them doubling down on the eco front. And when you do that, by the way, the whole concept is you go double or trip TC. Something that is actually quite easy to pull off on this map, actually, is England, right? You've got the natural choke points on the sides that you can wall off if you need to box yourself in. Usually the wood lines keep you quite tight and less exposed, so you actually have this nice little area to expand multiple TCs in. But let's keep an eye out for it. So far, just moving on the goal line straight away for Demon Sheep. Hera doing the exact same thing, a little bit delayed in comparison. Prioritizing that food slightly more. And I'm wondering... I think this that opening wise, like the numbers, I think will support Demon Sheep getting a tech up sooner. Unless now Hera puts more people on gold. I think Hera is though. Yeah, he's going to put 3 people. Whoa, yep, switch some just in time. So I think unless Demon Sheep plans to stick more people on gold, he might end up slightly delayed here. I could be wrong though. It's kind of cool thinking about these small details, right? Like actually one worker, what the difference can make. Because especially when you're talking mirror matchup, the first person to hit feudal here is going to be a big deal because they should have at least a 1 longbow advantage. Of course, that advantage can disintegrate when you consider how far across the map you have to run. But if you're talking about like that mid-ground, if you're thinking about expanding forward towards it quickly, that's where you might have the edge. And it looks like Hera's looking a bit more juicy in the opening. I think Demon Sheep queued multiple villages right now, so it's a little bit deceptive. But Hera almost having the required amount. 1 more drop-off, and he will be at the number needed. I don't expect to see any deviation. I don't actually think that the Abbey is even remotely convincing as an alternative landmark. I think that's going to probably be the most noticeable landmark that's going to need changing. It's just absolutely underwhelming. Even if you don't want a longbow rush, the idea of having the ability to defend yourself with a tech-up building without having to waste wood elsewhere, and then it accounting for the equivalent of 2 military buildings, makes it completely worthwhile. The only way you're ever going to change this is if you nerf longbowmen into the ground. But if you nerf longbowmen into the ground, what even is the point in England anymore, right? Like, it's genuinely the most noticeable power spike. It's actually, in my opinion, the only true power spike. You know, you can talk about how relevant they can be on an equal footing in late game, but like usually we're not looking at Imperial Age timings, right? When everyone's got everything capped out, and you can say about how amazing the castle network of castles is. Usually we're looking at that kind of mid-game timing. And I think in the mid-game timing, your knights don't do anything better than anyone else. You know, your men-at-arms, their main advantage is you get them so early. That disappears later, right? Because you obviously can build them in the first stage. Yeah, just overall, for me, England is either make or break in feudal, and then hope Imperial comes around later. But I don't feel like we're going to see Imperial in this game. I do hope we see Castle, though. Timings on this, it looks like Demon Sheep is going to have the edge on the tech up. I think he's got more people, more people building onto it. But Hera is going for the second TC. So this is what I want to see. I don't think in the longbow matchup, it's a good idea to just run longbowmen to the other side of the map and hope it works out. If you were talking like Dry Arabia, maybe. Just because it's probably a shorter distance. But obviously you have to wrap around the mountains and then run across. One thing I will say about the map generation is it's almost always the same, right? In terms of like the style location. I expected French Pass over time to have a wider generation between center and top here and then over here. But it always seems to be that like the northern player starts right here. And then the southern player starts in the center down here. I think we've seen some slight deviations. Maybe it's a little bit further north for the southern player. But outside that, it's almost always the same. I don't know if it would be a good or bad idea to change that. I think for like, if we're going to have random elements to a certain extent in the game anyway, in terms of generation, I'm absolutely fine with players getting one of 3 starting locations along their side of French Pass. I think actually that should 100% happen. I think otherwise, like, you could even argue, like, does one player have an advantage with these spawns, right? I feel like Northern players usually have an advantage when it's not this, where the tree line is actually cutting you off. If the tree line isn't cutting you off, the reason you have an advantage is you're able to actually push towards the center quicker than the southern opponent, and I do think that can be a big deal. And we've actually seen even southern players, right? They'll usually just wall off the north and play towards the south because they're being forced to go to that route because they know their opponent is on a shorter route. And then, yeah, obviously, the northern player has to play south because going north is just too wasteful on your time. Cool idea by Demon Sheep to get walls down, though. So he's actually blocking his opponent out from the center. This is actually genius against England. England don't tend to build the solution to walls that quick, right? They want to get longbows out. So now, Hera, if he ever wants to play for the center of the map, he will now be forced to go into Spearman early on, knowing that they are going to be matching up against longbowmen, which means their only use is going to be to burn down walls. Not a good value situation for him. And this now also gives Demon Sheep carte blanche to run in and harass Eco Lions as he chooses, and when he retreats, it's not like he's going to lose a force and then immediately Hera's going to be in his base, because he's still going to have to get through these walls. It also does allow for a TC expansion if Demon Sheep wants to do it. He is now gathering on the stone line, and I would love to see him do a 4 TC drop in the center. It would take some of your effective economy away because you have to run the villagers up. But if you hold in the center, within 10 minutes, the value you have, like, you'll actually outscale Hera. And Hera himself going for the close by TC. Really nice placement here. Directly next to the bushes as well as the tree line, so double value gained. And each bouquet that indeed. And just more walls going up. So Demon Sheep just trying to box Hera in. The negotiations have been found. Demon Sheep evolved into America. Hera became the Native Americans, and they've been given the reserve of land. And there they shall stay. Forever. So Hera scouts this out. We'll just wrap around. He can't even take on the villagers at 30 health, so we'll just try and get out. And now his longbowmen don't really serve a purpose. It's just a defense force, if anything. He doesn't want to leave his lines vulnerable, especially once his wood line cuts through, right? But the play now for Demon Sheep, more people moving on the stone line, and a bunch of people moving out to the deer. What is the play here? The problem I have right now with Hera is instead of, like, getting his scout out, he's just focusing on attacking Demon Sheeps. The reason there's a problem is, like, yeah, you don't want Demon Sheep having vision, but once he walls you in, he can just run new scouts in. If you don't get the scout out now, you're not getting him out. And that's the part that's a bit worrying for me. And you can actually see right now, walls are going down. And because he has to chase the scout, the villager's going to complete this. Yeah, so, like, he'll just stab him, and then, like, the scout now is in a situation where even if he strikes down the other scout, he's got such a low health pool that he won't be able to kill off the villager. In fact, he'll die to it. So really well played by Demon Sheep, just baiting his opponent. And now moving in range to the longbowman, the scout's going to be lost. Oh, no! It looked like he was going to get away. So the longbowman move across. This is a really big deal. Vision wins games, and now, look at it. Demon Sheep doubles down on controlling that vision situation. He's going to make Hera play a naked game. He will not know what's going on 2/3 of the map. And with Stonewalls down here, and probably Stonewalls going down up top, it means that Hera will be unable to break out of his base until at least Castle Age. And that is where you'll be able to exploit these gold veins the most in the center, is you can now prioritize moving for a second TC in center. Something I want to see him do very soon, by the way. I mean, Demon Sheep, 32, Hera up at 37. It feels like this stone wasn't even about TCing as much as it was about the Stonewalls. Like I said, cool concept, but your economy is going to be outscaled by like the 20-25 minute mark if you don't move on to a second TC now. And the reason being is while Hera is limited in his resource access, he is gathering it quicker, right? So he can actually hit this God knows I want to break free timing, right? Where he just turns up, says, here's Johnny, breaks through the wall, and then Demon Sheep's like, oh no! I don't know if that's exactly Demon Sheep's real life voice, but just speculating here. If I had to imagine what a demonic sheep sounded like, that was what I came up with. So Marketplace is going down. Wolf being a little bit annoying, but Scout can at least prevent that. Oh, I mean, this is kind of a good idea. I preferred the way that we saw Guz do it. If you want to do this, I like the idea of more of the marketplaces. But of course, the thing that made it more feasible for Guz to do in that Abbasid Dynasty game is he was playing the Abbasid Dynasty as you would have gathered by me seeing Abbasid Dynasty game. And they cost 50 wood and 50 gold, right? Whereas the traders for England here are just 75, 75. So a lot more pricey. And that's probably why he's only doing one marketplace. He'll look for that slow treacle over time. They'll build into another one with force. And then the whole idea is gradually he'll outscale Hera based on the fact that he's trading, and Hera's unlikely to do so because he's probably paranoid about raids into his base at the moment, right? And Hera will start to transition to the farms. I don't think we've seen similar yet. No. So Demon Sheep is still just working on the hunting. He's got the berries as well. I do think it's a mistake to not go into the farm sooner. Remember, farms have a superior gathering rate for England. You can see it here. 15%, 20%, 25%, and 30%, respective of which age you're in. As long as they're in the influence range of the mill, which is these slots immediately around it. Like what Hera's done here. Hera still not 2TC. Demon Sheep, 42 compared to the 49. So gap isn't overwhelmingly huge. And he's kind of keeping it competitive by pushing out these traders. But he is falling behind. Traders are giving him a huge surplus of gold there, right? 176 per trip. So in the next 5 minutes, they will have paid for themselves and returned their value, right? And now, looking at the tech-up situation, Hera is constructing into the King's Palace. Big deal, because this means that he's now going to have 3 TCs. Meanwhile, Demon Sheep, about to hit the number. I want to see him build this in the center, but he only has 2 workers here, which would give it a very pathetic construction rate. And I think for him, he wants to hit that timing quicker, so he's likely to build the King's Palace close to home. No. Okay, there we go. Thank God. So yeah, he's moving out 8 of these workers. King's... What? What? Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of this, folks. I guess the kind of thought in Demon Sheep's mind is he's about to have enough stone anyway, so drop the white tower for defense in the center, and then go for the TC. As long as he builds a TC, I'm happy with this. If he doesn't, I'm a little bit concerned. It's not the end of the world, but it would be like putting yourself at a distinct disadvantage, right? So white tower is going to be constructed here. That will give him a natural defense. Remember, this is just a juicy keep. And then, of course, England has the perk to building units out of their keeps. But then I immediately need to see a TC dropped here. There's just so much gold to be exploited. Your opponent's boxed in. You actually want to take all this away while he's boxed in. You don't want to be here getting through your second out of 6, 7, 8, or whatever, how many gold veins it is. You don't want to be only on the second one when your opponent is pushing out through the stone walls, right? You want to be through, 3, 4 of these, having gathered over 20,000 gold total. That's when you kind of hit that break point where your opponent's at a disadvantage. But this I like. So he decided with the final stone wall to stick it beyond the palisade. So now he actually has a defensive force in place. Remember, when you stand on these walls, you take reduced damage, 66% in fact, and also the increased range. As you can see. What's better than longbows, folks? Longbows. 9 tiles compared to the 7 now. Only thing he's really missing here is an outpost. Outpost's amazing, remember, because they give you the additional attack speed when enemies are in range. And then I'd love to see him just field some people in the southern ones, but so far no pressure there, so no rush to do so. And yeah, just run scouts in. Demon Sheep wants to know what up with Hera, you know? It's like you've imprisoned... One of those kind of stories that you watch in the movies where someone imprisoned their best friend, but they still visit them every weekend. That's kind of what this is. It's like, hey, buddy, how's it going? You doing good here? Yeah, you having a good time? This is one of those friendly ones. It's not the moment in the movie where he attacks him. He just bides his time until later, hoping to break out. Maybe he will soon. Building the siege workshops. This should be the trebuchet play. Even more value gained by the fact that his opponent is building stone wall towers now to hold him in. Mistake Demon Sheep has made here is he hasn't actually built a temple. He should have been capping these sacred sites. You need to actually put pressure on Hera to do something before he's actually ready to do something. And that's why he's now got the monastery. So he'll gather this relic, instant value, yoinksies, if need be. Okay, not going to... Okay, prioritizing sacred site. I'm fine with that. I think you're missing out on a bit extra gold, but you should get plenty now with the gold vein exposed. But still no TC. I'm very disappointed right now, as you can tell by my voice. You can tell that I sound like a very stone father. And it's a shame that you just couldn't join the family business of toe ring manufacturing. I was trying to come up with something stupid for a family business. That does sound pretty dumb. Yes, he's missing out on that eco-booming factor. It means he's on the clock. He needs these sacred sites quick. And they need a second priest to do it. And they're still going to take 8 minutes. So the question becomes, can Hera breach in 8 minutes? With Trebs, possibly. So what I want to see out of Demon Sheep, I want to see the most vile crap imaginable. I just want to see Stonewall, 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 Stonewall. I genuinely just want to see him layer this, all right? I want to see more layers than Shrek. Just to delay his opponent to the point that he loses to a Sacred Victory. So, Sacred Strike almost capped. You can also move this up to grab the relic afterwards. This Monk in the south capping this one, and that means that around the 23-minute mark is going to be the GG state, unless you decap now. No engagement with trade. Hera also now running out of places to mine gold, right? I think this is the final one he has before needing to move the center. So he has just over 3,000 gold. He's got 1,700 surplus. He's going for the Impage, and he's going to hit it. Construction begins over here. Yeah, so it's going to be the Berkshire Palace, and immediately drops the quadruple penta stable drop. This is pricey, by the way. So he's already expended a lot on the tech up. If he's intending to go knights, he has a very finite amount of resources to work with. But he knows he's all in, right? He sees his opponent takes both sacred sites, so he doesn't have another choice. I do think he's got more wiggle room than he actually should have been given, courtesy of the way that Demon Sheep done this. But Demon Sheep is now mounting the pressure, and he is starting to build military infrastructure in the center. Will he read it right, though? More Stonewalls going down. This is what I wanted. He built Treb. You know he wants out. Show him how you say no. And these Sprills, they don't have as much range as the Treb, remember, so he could move out to try and snipe it, but it would take too long, I think. The Treb would be able to move away. Move on the south. A little bit probing out the Longbowman, but nothing big and lethal. Right now, Demon Sheep doesn't actually want to waste any of his military like this. And he's still not grabbing these relics. Demon Sheep. It's fine, it's fine. Guys, we're misunderstanding. He's a demon, right? Relics are religious artifacts, right? They're very holy. Demons can't touch those. They burn. I guess that doesn't make much sense for the sacred sites. Oh, wow, it depends. If you're Hera, you feel like he has desanctified these locations. So, you know, really, this is just a race between good and evil, isn't it? Demons versus humanity. Hera's our representative. And if he lets us die, we'll judge him immensely. Well, with this slow push out, I feel like we are going to die at this rate. I almost end up saying that like a sheep. We're going to die. Especially with the amount of stone coming. So, I think Demon Sheep took these sacred sites at 15 minutes, right? So, yeah, it's 8-minute sacred site victory, like to get sacred site victory. So, it should be 23 minutes if it's going to trigger. I really wish they just add a sacred site timer, for God's sake. Like, yes, I know there is a tab here, folks. It doesn't do anything, though. We track the wonder, but we don't track the sacred site timer. Why? Why? Things that don't make sense. So Springles, friend a little bit, but now Man-at-Arms moving out. So Man-at-Arms and Springles, that's going to force you back. He has got the Bombard Cannon, so Hera can breach quickly, which is why Demon Sheep is going to drop the Berkshire Palace of his own right next to the front line. He just wants to delay this. Even if he ends up losing the palace in the end, it's all about just keeping away from the sacred site. Demon Sheep is fully in on this as his win condition now. And Man-at-Arms. Just probing a little. A lot of Bombard Cannons. Hera, in the end, actually investing more wisely. It's not just going to be a Knight spam. He's supporting it with enough artillery to breach quickly. And now he's definitely on the clock, right? He's got about 2 minutes to make this work before Demon Sheep's transition into quality begins, right? Is it going to be quick enough out of Demon Sheep? Demon Sheep right now, I think the best move for you is like you're trying to run Man-at-Arms across the map, right? Either move military infrastructure to the north, build it up with these guys here, or run at his eco south. You know he has been expanding here. You have to assume he's continued it, right? Because you see all his military infrastructure in the north. So right now you're playing directly into him. Would it not be a better idea to actually hit his economy directly? Maybe Demon Sheep just feels like, honestly, he's so outscaled. If he tries that, he's going to lose the game anyway. And I can kind of respect that. From our perspective, we can see that it's 73 compared to 113 villager count. But But he doesn't know that 100%, right? Like we do. Which is why I'm kind of surprised he's not at least running a probe force, right? Maybe just get a few horsemen, run them in here. You just get immense value. You snipe out so much of the eco. So bombards. As we all know, guys, the absolute worst counter to bombards is, in fact, more keeps. But because he's got the Berkshire Palace, it's not the end of the world. You can see he can target out the bombards and do very little damage to them. So we'll just have to keep repairing here. It's building into the cannon emplacement of the Springald, and that will be good enough. Knights can't really push in here. I swear, the Berkshire Palace, like, this palace is just ridiculous in the game. I get frustrated every time I encounter it in my games. I'm like, why am I being attacked? Because remember, it has the 50% additional range on all the weapons emplacements. So now it's very hard for even the bombards to get through here. And Hera, he's going to be bogged down for possibly too long at this rate, as long as they can keep it repaired. Barely any Knights left, and it's just bombards being repaired. They need to repair the Berkshire Palace quicker than this. Keep isn't ready yet. Springald's being sniped at. They're going to turn onto the bombards, but they're not sniping out the villagers, so Hera's keeping it going. And the Berkshire Palace has fallen. He's breached the north. But can he follow through now? Very few troops and a few bombards to work with. Man-at-arms still trickling in, but remember, these aren't the best solution. With this many bombards, they can snipe you out before you reach the line. And with the Knights now backing them up as well, there seems to be no way for Demon Sheep to reach. Keep is almost gone complete, but it's already down to half HP upon completion. Although hitting to a few of these Knights, it's not going to last long against this many bombards. The Knights will get rid of those villagers quickly. Just commits them to the repairs, though. Nothing else they can do. And that is going to be all 6 of them dead as well. Springald completely wasted. Demon Sheep sleeping on the job, seemingly. Moving a Springald in range and they're not using it. Not that it would make a difference. He just didn't address the villagers at all. He never had a composite military force standing in place. It was just Springalds and defenses. And while the keep idea is nice, it makes no sense when you've already got a Berkshire Palace here. Just prioritize that defense. Get troops out here. Get infrastructure. Think about the military buildings he could have potentially built instead of a keep. Because that's the difference. Because now he's going to be decapped. And if he gets decapped, that's just going to be the end of the game. Because he has nothing here. Look how pathetic his military force is. Look how pathetic his economy is. And now look how pathetic his control of the center is. As they're on the sacred site, the decap will begin. And with it, Demon Sheep should just call the game because it's over. There is no way you can deal with Hera. Well played by Hera to use that finite amount of gold to boom up. And when he pushes out, he does it so strongly that the Demon Sheep is not ready and waiting.